Adoatv, bringing good things to life.
CB makeup now. I'm not correct. Why your best mankasa? That's it. Who anymore? Oh, middle. You captures back on CB makeup sauce. Missy CB makeup sauce and make a yen. Yeah, you see men and women's capsules now. You knew the dada. And 1 year packaging I had the wow! What a packaging! CB men, any CB women capsules, no packaging is out. And you also no mood any bianza no akodo mpegi. Share apemfo any about town man kwada no fo. Any kwada won di fie du ye. Enka ho. Susanna. Ghana man be man tamase.
Adoatv 0247 111671 and 0246 578 750. FDA aje edwedin kato yato.
Asatek, so you're kunini roofing industry nim enti Saudi roofing na wadwen Asatek. Asatek wo quality long span roofing sheeter esan nail free trese ehia so de dadoabo mu nanso etim wudan no so a pampe amframa anahum entumi nya no hwe. Asatek quality long span roofing sheets with beautiful bright colors with anti-fading and anti-rusting properties. Trese enwe na ache na empanso enti
This is another edition of AM News on Adoatv Television. We're live all across the world on TV and online from digital address GA226 0733. We're also live on digital channel 37 and 38. To apologize for the late start of the news. In our top stories this morning, former President John Dramani Mahama has said that if not for the scam in the 2020 general elections, NDC would have won the elections. Also coming up, Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta has reiterated that government payroll is full, urging fresh graduates of UPSA to start their own business. In some business news this morning, Joe Jackson, Director of Operations at Delex Finance, is urging government to sell off its asset as the country remain broke. You might want to stay with us because details of these and many others comes up in the jiffy. Please be my guest. till further news now. Former President John Dramani Mahama has reiterated that for a lot of scams that occurred during the 2020 general elections, the National Democratic Congress (NDC) would have won the elections. Speaking on Global FM yesterday as part of his thank you tour in the Volta region, Mr. Mahama noted that the 2020 general elections is the worst elections ever held in Ghana.
This has been one of the worst elections we've had. There was ballot stuffing. We caught some people with ballot papers in their pockets, but there are others that we didn't catch who were able to stuff them in the ballot boxes. And so, yes, I cannot grade this election as the EC commissioner is saying as the best. It's the worst.
So I was just about asking that. She says it's one of the best.
It's the worst we've ever had. Worst we've ever had. We've never had an election where 8 people have been shot in the process and killed. You understand? And I mean, you say that is the best election. We've had elections over and over again. People we go through the process. We don't have people killed, you know, during an election process. And for a party that went from 4-point-something million votes to 6-point-something million, almost 6.3 million, how can you say there's no hope? There definitely is hope. But for a lot of scheming that took place, the NDC would have won the 2020 elections. I do believe that we did win, but a lot of things went untoward. And so even though power didn't come into our hands, it doesn't mean that, you know, we do not have the prospects of winning. I mean, we won the majority in Parliament, but you saw what happened on the day.
Yeah.
In many of the collation centers, they injected soldiers in there and forced the electoral officers to pronounce results that were not real. If you take the case of Seshiri also, the polling station where I won the presidential, that polling station ballot box for the parliamentary was asked to be brought to the regional center, regional collation center, instead of the district collation center. That last ballot box, and on the way it got missing. And based on that, they declared the MPP the winners in Seshiri also. I mean, those are some of the things that happened.
Could I have changed the narrative?
It would have changed the narrative. In Senate West, luckily a judge sorted that out. When they were losing, they picked a ballot box and ran away with it. I mean, what kind of democracy is this? And when you listen to people like Lord Comey and things, it's about power. To me, it's not about the welfare of the people. It's not about the will of the people. He says if you get power, you shouldn't hand it over to anybody. What do you mean by that? It's the sovereign will of the people who elect you to serve. You know, but when arrogance of power sets in, then you hear people speak so carelessly and recklessly. I think it's most unfortunate.
Let's stay one longer with the former President John Dramani Mahama because he has beckoned the lack of entrepreneurial skill training in schools. According to him, many students only go through grammar education, offering solutions to the current spike in youth unemployment in the country, which security analysts and experts are warning that is a national threat to our national security. Mr. Mahama noted that all technical and vocational institutions to benefit from the free senior high school policy initiative to also equip students with the requisite skills so they can find something to do on their own if they are out of school. Again, he spoke on Global FM as part of his thank you tour in the Volta region.
We're pushing all the children into free SHS. We've ignored technical education and secondary technical education because these are areas where if the children go, they can acquire skills that would make them able to set up their own businesses or be able to get businesses in the world of work. Right now, if you come out of SHS and you did business or you did arts or you did something, the chances of you getting a job are very slim. If you go to university and you do the humanities, the chances of you getting a job are very slim. Now, the whole of the public sector is 700,000 people. You understand? Ghana's population is 30-point-something million. Every year, out of senior, tertiary education, you have almost 100,000 young people qualifying. How many can be employed in the government sector? Because if you look at what business and industry are looking for, they're not looking for humanities. They're looking for people who have technical education. They're looking for excavator operators. They're looking for crane operators. They're looking for civil engineers. They're looking for steel benders. They're looking for those kinds of people. But yet, most of our children are going through the secondary grammar education and coming out, and they can't find a job because they don't have the skills to be able to enter the world of work. And that's why if you look in our manifesto, we said we must do a pivot. You understand? It's not that you brought free SHS and you produce hundreds of thousands of young people from free SHS. But what skills did you give them coming out of free SHS so that if they cannot find work, they can do something for themselves? What skills are you giving them in entrepreneurship so that they can do work for themselves?
Speaking in that report is former President John Dramani Mahama on his thank you tour in the Volta region. Let's move away from John Dramani Mahama because Ghana's Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has advised fresh graduates of the University of Professional Studies to start their own business. According to him, the government's payroll is full, therefore adding more numbers to the already crowded public sector payroll will be unsustainable. Hence, the need for these fresh graduates to venture into entrepreneurship.
The Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, has boldly advised fresh graduates from the University of Professional Studies Accra UPSA to start their own business. According to the Finance Minister, the government's payroll is full with no space to accommodate new employees to the public sector. He said it will keep adding to the unemployment figures in the public sector. Most people look for a job from government or state institutions, but that payroll is full. I can tell you that because we are spending about 60% of our revenue on remunerating some 560,000 people, and that is not sustainable, he said. Mr. Ofori-Atta said, it is the role and job of the government to create the needed enabling environment, establish micro-stability, and ensure that citizens have the right to skill set.
So the future for you with regards to jobs, of course, is the most important thing at this stage. We have gone through a period where most people look for jobs with government, etc. That payroll is full. I can tell you that because we are spending some 60% of our revenue on remunerating some 650,000 people, and that's not sustainable. The question then really is whether UPSA has trained you to be entrepreneurs. And your question will be, where will I get the financing from, etc. But you do and you have the skill set to be able to do what you have to do. Our responsibility as government is to create an environment of macro stability, currency stability, and ensure that you have access to the relevant skills and financing. So this budget that we are going to be doing is going to really focus on the youth and budget. And tomorrow we have a program here looking at what the youth demands and how we can structure the next 2-3 years of the Ghana Obatampa program to ensure that you become your own bosses and you become entrepreneurs. So it's a new world out there where you need to, it's not a factory that is employing 10,000 people, but it's individuals like you employing 2, 3, 4, 5 people to create that energy and engine for our country to transform.
Meanwhile, a former Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture and MP for Akim Stradro, Kennedy Nyankon Osei, has buttressed what the Finance Minister said. The lawmaker, taking to his social media handle, noted he would not be surprised that in some years to come, the country will be spending its entire revenue in paying public sector workers with nothing left. Preferring solutions, the former deputy minister asked government to enter into a compulsory redundancy program to lay off at least half of the current public sector workers and use those monies that will be saved to compensate them by setting them up to run their own businesses. This practical approach, he observed, will free the government wage bill of about 17 billion Ghana cedis. In conclusion, he said the 17 billion can be put in an entrepreneurship program or funding to support young entrepreneurs and individuals with bankable businesses to run their own companies without depending on government for jobs.
Speaking earlier in that report is the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Let's move away from him because the National Democratic Congress, NDC, has described the insensitive and bad President Akufo-Addo's leadership. Speaking in a presser, National Communications Officer lawyer Sami Jenfi observed that Ghanaians are suffering under the Akufo-Addo-led administration over the persistent increment in fuel that have skyrocketed prices of goods and commodities, which has affected the lives of Ghanaians in general.
A crate of eggs that used to sell at 12 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today selling at a whopping 26 Ghana cedis, just to mention a few. And like I said, we gathered these prices before the latest increment. And so our projections are that from Monday going, next week going, the prices will go up again. This picture looks scary for many Ghanaian families and households, as it has become a constant struggle for many Ghanaians to afford 3 square meals a day. The reality is that times are very tough. The system is hard and pockets are dry. Car owners are suffering. Taxi drivers are suffering. Trotro drivers are suffering. Trotro mates are suffering. Uber drivers are suffering. Bus drivers are suffering. Passengers are suffering. Journalists are suffering. And Ghanaians in general are suffering. Sadly, the state of economic hardships and hopelessness in the country keeps worsening by the day with no end in sight. All as a result of the insensitive and bad leadership of the deceptive Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government. The question we would want to ask President Akufo-Addo and his 419 Jokla Vice President Dr. Bawumia is, what has happened to their much touted promise to move Ghana from taxation to production when elected? What has happened to their campaign rhetoric that Ghanaians were being overtaxed by President Mahama and their promise to develop Ghana through tax incentives? It bears reminding ourselves that in the run-up to the 2016 general elections, these masters of political chicanery, President Akufo-Addo himself, ably assisted by Dr. Bawumia, told Ghanaians in the Akan language that Yetisikaso is welcome there. To which Ghanaians were sitting on money, yet we were starving. Now, the question we ought to be asking is, where is the money they claimed we were sitting on? You would further recall, ladies and gentlemen, that in the run-up to the 2020 general elections, these same two people, Dr. Bawumia and President Akufo-Addo, asked the good people of Ghana to give them 4 more years to do 4 more for them. Is the imposition of draconian taxes on Ghanaians, which has led to persistent increases in fuel, with its concomitant, effects on general prices and cost of living, what they meant by 4 more years or 4 more to do more.
Lawyer Sami Jenfi is the National Communications Officer for the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Let's move away from the headquarters because the aggrieved candidate of the 2021 Ghana School of Law entrance examination has declared its support and readiness to join the National Association of Law Students on its intended demonstration against the associations described as injustice at the Ghana School of Law on Wednesday, October 20, 2021. In a presser yesterday, the group said the move is in line with the quest to demand for reforms of the national legal education. Tony Ba is the convener of the group, and he spoke to my colleague Nanaya Ado in the following report.
I think the National Association of Law Students are organizing demonstration on our case. And it is fair that when somebody is doing something on your behalf, you render support. So we are going to be there, and we are going to support them in this demonstration to let the general public know that we have written examination and we have passed, and therefore they need to consider us and be admitted into the school. So Wednesday is a demonstration day, Red Wednesday, and we're going to demonstrate. We're going to support them to demonstrate. The 499, the National Association of Law Students are organizing demonstration, and we're going to support them.
I'm a mother of 4. I've put in my best. Not once have I written this exam. I've written it more than 3 times. And I'm always at 49 or 48. So obviously, yes, I'll become frustrated with what is happening now. Yes, I passed. I crossed 50 and more. So I don't know why I put in so much effort. I left my kids home, went to stay in a hostel for 3 months studying. I was studying till my butt hurt. And by God's grace, I've passed 50 and more. And they are saying, no, this is a new rule.
At the end of the day, every law student who sat for that entrance exam, it was the expectation of the person that admission to the Ghana School of Law is based on merit. And this has been something which even the former Chief Justice, Sophia Akufo, retreated in her justification for not expanding or admitting anybody at all into the law school, because they needed quality, and you need to justify that. So at the end of the day, the justification is you sitting for the entrance exam, and you're expected to pass. 50%, everybody knows 50% is a pass mark. For this belated rule to be applied 50-50, it doesn't make sense in law.
It's very traumatizing if you look at the nature of the exams that we wrote. Anybody who has written the exams, and I'm sure the organizers of the exams know how difficult it is to pass these exams. And so for you to pass these exams and then you will be denied admission, it's frustrating. Honestly, some of our colleagues, when you listen to them, some of them are even contemplating suicide. Yes, I'm telling you, I'm being frank with you. Somebody wrote 5 times, and this is the 5th time she has had 53. And you denied her admission. All the years she writes, she gets less than 50. This year she had 50. And you are denying her admission, bringing technicalities which were never known to us prior to the exams. And that is our predicament. Nobody is speaking for us. Nobody is speaking for us. It's like we are orphans. We don't have anybody who is speaking for us. We passed the exams. This year we passed the exams. One of the professions that nobody completes and takes certificate to go to someone's office to look for work or burden government with work is the legal profession. And people have passed. Why do we deny them? That is our concern. And we are asking the president to come to our aid. We are asking the Chief Justice, Justice Enin Yeboah. He is the head of the GLC. He supervises justice in this country. So we are pleading with him and his office to let justice prevail to these 499 students who wrote the exams. And
we'll keep an eye on this particular development and update you subsequently on what the issue would be with regards to their demonstration of the entrance examination. But that will be our package for this morning on AM News. My name is Nanya McCollison. From me and the rest of the team, we'll see you again very soon. Visit our website www.adwanewsonline for more news. But we'll bring you updates of these stories and many others subsequently in our bulletins. Bye for now.